5 million মুসলমান আর 3 লাখ জুইশ দে আর মাইনরিটি ইন ব্রিটেন আমরাও মাইনরিটি বাট তারার তুলনায় আমরা মাইনরিটি নাই তারা মাত্র 300,000 আর আমরা 4 মিলিয়ন তারা এভরি লয়ে প্রোটেক্ট করে আমরা তো কোনো লয়ে প্রোটেক্ট করে না ইসলামোফোবিয়ার তো প্রোটেক্ট করার কিছু নাই তাইলে এই মুসলমান সকল পার্লামেন্টে গিয়া সব খালা মানুষগুলো গিয়া কোনো ফায়দা আছে না আমরা তো কোনো প্রোটেকশনও না
Okay, the first thing we need to do is go back to what I said at the outset, and that is stop supporting people who are going to be cutting off our own noses, as we call it, right? The people who are going to work against us, the people that I mentioned before.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of people who are working against us, and we ourselves are saying, vote for them. How shameful that is. And what we should be doing is perhaps learning a lesson from those communities who have come many, many decades before we did.
Okay.
And
So
they have put themselves in, they've worked hard, credit to them. They've become, they've entered the professions, they've gone into the political system, and that's what we should be doing. We should engage, we should interact, why not? We should participate. This is our home.
Question is very simple.
Why are we not
decision makers? There are 300,000 people.
Yeah.
We are 4 million.
Yeah.
We got dozens of MPs on both parties, even including a Muslim brother is a chairman for, what's his name, the right-wing guy recently. What's his name?
From Reform.
Reform.
Yeah,
Reform. Zia.
Yeah.
But there is no law to protect Islamophobia. Why are we putting them in the? We'd rather put our wider white candidates in the parliaments because they're going and just taking 80 grand, 100 grand wages. They're not doing nothing for us, are they?
It's not necessarily just about the numbers of Muslims in parliament. It's not so much that. It's the thoughts that they carry. And also it's about the influence that can be undertaken.
I understand, but I thought the Muslim was in a better position.
On the members of parliament.
I thought the Muslim was in a better position when no Muslim was in the parliaments. When we came into England, we was much better position than now.
It's not so much how many Muslims you have in parliament, although it does count for something, but it's also, more so perhaps, the influence that the people who think in that way can have on the policymakers. So, for example, you've got a Jewish person who is heading the Green Party at the moment, Zach Balansky, and what he's doing, the kind of things he's been saying, even as we speak, the kinds of things he's been saying about prescribing the Israeli army as a terrorist organization. He's right. The kinds of things he's been saying about, about Palestine, for example. Those are the kinds of things. He's not a Muslim. He's not a Muslim, but the thing is...
but don't you think he's saying all these things because he's never going to be in a power? He's just making some noises.
No, I think that's too simplistic. But what I'm saying is that we need more people...
It's like the Kemi yesterday made on her speech.
Yeah.
Kemi yesterday, the conservative leader, she said so many things. She's going to abolish this, abolish that. They can noise bites.
Well, no, I agree with you that a lot of people say a lot of things when they're campaigning. But what they do is by making those kinds of statements and showing support for any particular cause, we can get behind those rallies. We can get behind those levels of support and kinds of support. So what we need to do is make sure that we leverage our abilities, our powers, our numbers, any sort of...
Another question.
Yeah.
Do you think আমরা multicultural বুঝি না? আমরা educate করা হইছে না?
I don't think it's an issue about multiculturalism because at the end of the day,
when you say multicultural, it's multi-religion, multi-way of praying of Ibrahim, because something is not right because we don't respect each other anymore.
But you see, in terms of, I think we've got to be careful about using labels and phrases because things like multiculturalism, you have the Hindu community, the Sikh community, you have many, many different communities who come from different cultures.
Yes.
But the problem that they have and the problem that Tommy Robinson has is not about those sorts of cultures. They have problems with Muslims, and they can be all sorts of colours, white, black, Asian, whatever the case may be. They can be from all corners of the world, in fact. And so it's not so much about culture, it's about religion. And we then have to identify...
But don't you think
then have to ask ourselves...
Don't you think the Muslims also have a serious issues? যারা নাম মুসলমান, because আপনি রদারহাম তো পাইতানে কোনো হিন্দু কেউ তোমার সাদা মেয়ে হলো লগে অ্যাবিউজ করছে.
But you see, but hang on. Those people who are committing those sorts of offences are not doing that because the Quran says so, or because the Hadith says so, or because their community says so. They're doing it because they're horrible people. And if anything...
But why do we have so many horrible people within us?
No, but we don't, because the thing is, if you look at the statistics, the vast majority who commit those sorts of crimes are actually white people. not necessarily Muslim people.
Okay.
It's white people. And it's just that they're being flagged up and amplified to say, well, actually, it's them only. And I can assure you that the vast majority of the Muslims living in the United Kingdom, and I hope that it's not just our Bangladeshi viewers who are watching, people of Bangladeshi ancestry, but people from all sorts of backgrounds are watching this. They should understand that the vast majority of Muslim people within the United Kingdom are not only law-abiding, but they're respectful towards others as well. And if anything, what we should be doing is not always being on the defensive, but we should be going forward and making ourselves visible. We should be able to hold those positions, encouraging our children to go and educate themselves, be themselves people of influence, whether they be in a profession or in business or whatever the case may be.
Before I go to Imam, I just want to ask you one more thing.
Yeah.
So, Home Secretary said,
Shabana Mahmood.
the পুলিশের ক্ষমতা বাড়ানি হইব রিপিট প্রোটেস্টর সিদ্ধান্ত নেওয়ার লাগি তাইলে তো আর প্রোটেস্টের কোনো দরকার নাই আপনার অরিজিনাল কইসা যে প্রোটেস্ট দরকার আমরা ইউকে যাইতাম এখন যদি পুলিশের কাছে ক্ষমতা থাকে বাড়ানি হয়ে যায় আর মানুষ গিয়ে সেকেন্ড টাইম প্রোটেস্ট করতে পারে না তো আর ফ্রিডম অফ স্পিচ
No, I think it's easier said than done. I think that there's no law against protesting. I mean, unfortunately, if they do prescribe an organisation which you think is wrong, then what you should do is you need to be smart and just avoid saying Palestine action. Do something else. There's many ways of protesting and speaking up and making sure that your voice is heard, so that at the very least.
No, I think.
No.
That's changing a limited company now.
Well, no, it's not, because at the end of the day, if a member of parliament or the Home Secretary, she can say what she likes. Why should you stop protesting? Why should you go on the defensive? You can't protest.
Last question to you now before I go to
Nobody
Imam.
can stop you from protesting.
So, where do you see, when Trump called Sadiq Khan a jihadist, where does put us? How do you see this?
I think it's a good thing.
How?
I'll tell you why. No.
Right,
We don't need to call him. I think it's a good thing because for a Muslim who is not a member of parliament, who is well, I say just, but he's a mayor of London, which is a big deal. But in comparison to the most powerful man in the world, it's not a big deal. And for him, President Trump, to be losing sleep over a Muslim is a good thing, because it shows that when a Muslim has that power, he is occupying the mind of the President of the United States of America, the most powerful man in the world. It shows that he's doing something which he's not happy with. It shows that he's successful in whatever he's doing.
So
what is Sadiq Khan doing?
Is Sadiq Khan calling Trump racist? Is it the right way of addressing that?
Well, I think, look, there's many ways of responding. I think if Sadiq Khan chooses to, describe him as a racist, may well be the case. Is President Trump Islamophobic? I don't think he is. I think, he's a businessman.
He want to get a Nobel Prize.
Well, yeah, he knows what he wants. He knows what. I mean, it's not necessarily America first. I think it's President Trump first, and I think that's all he cares about. I don't think he's a Islamophobe. Is he a racist? I'm not sure. It depends how you define race and what race you're talking about. It is. He's a businessman. That's all he is. But the fact is, in answer to your question about whether or not him describing the Mayor of London as such as he did, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I think it is a good thing that we have a Muslim who's the Mayor of London. It is a good thing that we keep voting him back in, because at the end of the day, what we are saying is that if we don't acknowledge and give weight to our own people, nobody else will. There are forces working against us to remove any semblance of power that we have. Now, if this man goes and does little things, which even may not make much of a difference, even if he does a little thing, like, for example, switching on lights in Regent Street, Piccadilly Circus, for example, the Ramadan lights as you've seen. Now, you might think, what impact is that going to have? It may not have any impact at all, but it makes a statement. It essentially says that the Muslims do count. And we're here to stay. We're born here, we live here.
The problem I have with what you're suggesting is that you're suggesting we vote for the perfect hypocrites amongst us, basically. When you have Shabana Mahmood, or you have the Kemi Badenoch, for example, or you have the...
Kemi Badenoch's not a Muslim.
Suella Braverman.
She's not a Muslim.
Yeah, well, we're talking about ethnic minorities.
No, I'm not. Okay. I'm not, because the thing is, the fact is that it's not necessarily about colour, as I was trying to explain. It's not about colour, it's not even about race, it's not about that at all. Because even if you have a white Muslim who tries to go and achieve something, he's going to be dragged down by forces. If a white Muslim wanted to be...
But why should I vote for Shabana Mahmood when they're prescribing PAL action? Why should I vote for the hypocrisy of it? Well, am I not rewarding hypocrisy then?
Well, look, I'm not suggesting...
Why do you think Shawana Mahmood is a hypocrite?
Well, because as a Home Secretary, you have a decision as to whether you want to prescribe an organisation or not. That's within her power. And on any view, Pal Action was simply not an organisation that should have been prescribed. And she went, and this is apparently from a government, a Labour Party.
No, I hear you.
But a Labour Party who was thinking about recognising the state of Palestine while simultaneously converting many supporters of a non-violent organisation
I hear you, but the fact
criminals.
is, it's got to be the lesser of two evils. I mean, what's
Right,
the
let me go to the...
Do you go to a Conservative member?
Let me go to
Parliament
Nazir Bhai, let's have some Bangla.
And then have that,
there are five,
that which works against
the thing is,
our
there are
interests.
5 members of Parliament who are independents.
Yeah.
The biggest number that's ever happened before. And I think that's the alternative, to walk away from hypocrisy of the clearly the large parties are just entirely hypocritical. And the electorate did do that. They voted for independent people.
I think my final point before we go to the Imam is basically that we should look at not just our own selfish interests, but also the interests of what we identify as and what people identify as. So if somebody's going to say that you are a Muslim and therefore I don't like you, then we need to stand up and defend ourselves. And therefore we need to protect our interests. And if that means we're voting for somebody who understands us, now even if that might be a white man who's, who's a white Jewish man who's talking and defending our interests, Zach Polanski, for example. It might be someone like him. It might be someone else, an independent, whoever the case may be. But if somebody doesn't look out our interests, and if somebody's not prepared to, hear what we have to say and understand our corner, then yes, why should we vote for them?
Thank you.